like you can have it all, I'll let you call all the shots. Give you all my faith, give you all of the night. Either I'm gonna trust you, or either I'm not. Just tell me that you're proud of me, proud of me, proud of me. Just tell me that you're proud of me, proud of me, proud of me.
I've worked with the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, Khalid. I worked with television networks like NBC, CBS, Grammy Awards, The Voice, a song called Songland. I remember I was working with Usher, and at the time it was like my first major touring situation.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was like, man, they want somebody that lives in LA because it's a little easier to have them out here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't tell them I don't live in LA. I got this Airbnb and it was like $25 a night. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. That's I can manage that.
Yeah.
I got there, it was a halfway house. Like really stepping out and leaning on God.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. I ain't even on front. It's hard sometimes to step out from what's familiar. Step out from like, man, I make this weekly. I know this is coming in. It's hard sometimes to just kind of step out on that water. But you really got to follow his voice.
What's going on, family? Hey, welcome to yet another edition of the Purpose Experience, where we help believers who are leaders learn, live in, and leverage their God-given purpose. And I'm here today, man. I just got to let you know that today's episode, we don't have no worries, because I am sitting here with none other than my main man, Khirye Tyler. I mean, this man is just on a whole nother level. He's killing the game in the music industry, and he's one of the rare individuals that I know that can kill the game in the gospel realm, kill the game in the secular realm, and not lose his integrity. So without further ado, help me introduce, or help me welcome, family, none other than my main man, Khirye. What's going on, Khirye?
What up, family?
Hey, bless you. Hey, can't complain, man.
Yes, no worries over here.
No worries. Yes, no worries, man. Listen, now you, as I mentioned, you've been killing the game in so many ways. Do you mind letting the people know about who you are and what you do? Because although you've been killing the game, you've been doing a lot of it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of let us peek in on what you got going on.
My name is Khirye Tyler. I'm a musician, producer, songwriter, and creative director, musical director. And I've worked with the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, Khalid. I worked with television networks like NBC, CBS, Grammy Awards, The Voice, a song called Songland. I own a company called Black Suit Music. It's almost like a record company, and we're in a group called Red Hands that is on the record label. So I'm kind of everywhere right now, you know?
Everywhere. And please don't let the humble aside, just fool you. Like he said, I work with Beyonce and Jay-Z, like it was just like your average Joe or somebody. It was like it was somebody, that you just met down the street or whatever. But I wanted him to explain to us just what he does, just because I wanted to set the stage to let you know that although he's very humble in what he does, like the man is really doing it, and God is using him in a fantastic way. Kind of let us know how you got started, man. Like, let us peek in on your beginnings.
So I started playing piano at the age of 9 in my home church in Mansfield, Ohio, and it's kind of been like a grind.
Are you from Mansfield?
Yes.
Okay.
Born and raised Mansfield, Ohio.
Nice.
But been grinding since 9, man, and like I've always had the dreams and the aspiration to just continue to take it as high as God will allow me to take it. So I started at 9. I didn't really start working professionally until I was 18. I used to travel back and forth to LA a lot just to kind of get my hands in the soil, let people know that I'm out here, I'm trying to do something. And my first shot, I got a chance to do some work on a film called La La Land. I was one of the actors, as well as did some behind the scenes on the music tip.
And a little too good on piano, so good he's gonna own this place if I'm not careful. Khirye Tyler, everybody.
and the ball's been rolling ever since then.
That is a blessing. Now, what is it that you think transpired that kind of convinced you to start traveling to LA? Because that's not anything that's just easy for a young man to just jump out there and do. Like what prompts you to say, you know what, let me go out there and let them know what I'm doing?
So at the time, LA, and it still is, LA is still like the spot. Like, it's so many opportunities out there. I mean, you know how they say you got to be at the right place at the right time? That is extremely true. That's extremely true. So at the time, that was just all that was being planned. Like, hey, man, you should come out to LA. I know this person is doing this. You know, you could introduce yourself to this person. You can do that. So I was like, hey, I must just start saving my money and making trips out there. Go out there, sleep on friends' couches, and just make it happen.
Now, tell us more about those type of stories, because it's one thing to hear about the fact that you went to LA, but I think one part that many of us tend to not be aware of is the fact that when you go out there, it's not like peaches and cream. It's not just like, hey, I went to LA and then the next day I was working with Beyonce and Jay-Z. You know, you just mentioned that you was sleeping on friends' couches. Like, what would you say is like some of the craziest stories that's like connected to that?
Oh man, some of the craziest stories. There's been times like at the beginning where like I would travel out to LA. It'd be a really great opportunity, but obviously I ain't had no money first. I had to go make the money. So I would go out there and like I got this Airbnb and it was like $25 a night, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. That's you know, I can manage that. I got there. It was a halfway house. I was like, I don't know who was renting rooms out in the halfway house, but it was not the vibe.
Wait, so somebody got out of jail, they say, I know how I'm gonna make my...
Yeah, it was like rooms full with bunk beds. It was like maybe 4 bunks there, so like 8 people in one room.
Yeah.
And like they're literally living in the room. So like homie got his computer, got a refrigerator, got like a curtain on his bed. It was wild, but I was like, I gotta do what I gotta do until, you know, I'm able to afford a $50.
Right.
But man, those were times though, those kind of helped me kind of ground myself and stay kind of grounded. Like, you know, you don't got it yet. And in the meantime, do what you need to do until, you know, you can get you a $75 Airbnb.
I love it. Now, what is something that you wish you would have known when you first got started?
I wish I would have known that that I could do it from home. You know what I'm saying? Now, it took me some time to realize. I feel like I did have to go to LA to kind of get my name out there and start the groundwork. But now that I've been in the game for so long and I look back, a lot of this stuff started rolling for me because I started building a brand on social media. So after so long, people just started calling me. I had the mindset that I had to be in LA. Gotcha. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I used to lie to people like, oh yeah, I live in LA. Yeah, they're lying. But after a while, it kind of settled in. Like, you don't gotta be out here. You know, I can be at home tending to my family and making sure everything is good at home, and working from here, and you know, still working, still grinding. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of a realization that kicked in after some time. I remember I was working with Usher, and at the time it was like my first major touring situation. And the whole thing was like, man, they want somebody that lives in LA because it's a little easier to have them out here. So I'm like, don't tell them I don't live in LA. I would just pay for my flights, I'll pay for my hotel, and then I'll just make sure I give it back out of my check, put it back out of my check if I can. And then after maybe like the second tour, he came up to me and was like, Khirye, I know you live in Cleveland. I know you live in Cleveland and I know you paying for your flights and stuff. He said, don't worry about that. Like, you know, we'll make sure you're taken care of. And that's when it clicked, like, I can be doing this from anywhere. Yeah, it's not like, it's like he seen the value. I showed him my value. And that let him know, like, I'll pay for him to, like, he's valuable to this team. So wherever he needs to come from, I'll make sure it happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing that I've learned over the years. You know what I'm saying? And continue to learn. It's your value, and people will do whatever they need. If you're valuable to that team or you're an asset in any way, they will do what they need to do to make sure you're taken care of.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing to be aware of. Now, you mentioned two things that I want to touch on. First, you mentioned the importance of tending to your family. Now, one thing that we didn't mention is that not only are you a maestro when it comes to music, but you're also a maestro when it comes to being a husband and a father, man. Kind of talk to us about how you balance or what you would recommend for someone like an aspiring musician as it relates to balancing home life and their career.
That's vital. First of all, shout out to my beautiful wife.
Shouts out.
Elizabeth Tyler. She's gonna watch this and critique me like crazy. But that's vital because ministry starts at home.
Yeah.
If you ain't got your foundation together, everything is shaky and it'll fall apart just like that. So like that's key. It's really key to me, and I really stress it to any artist or any business. I don't miss birthdays. I don't miss special so. If we got a show, if we got something going on this day, you can count me out. And that sets the level of respect for them. They respect it like, oh man, like he's serious about that before this.
Yeah.
Because family, my wife, my children, that's more important than any dollar I will ever earn. You know what I'm saying? If it wouldn't matter without them. I'm out here working to provide for them and stuff. So if they're not there, it don't matter. And I'm just out here. So it's pivotal, man, like to make sure home is taken care of and make sure you're balanced and make sure your children and your family sees you more than the industry sees you.
Yeah.
Because they're who, you sleep with at night. They're who, again, you're making this money to provide for. So that's key, man. That's pivotal.
It is pivotal. Now, speaking of things being pivotal, what would you say were some pivotal mistakes that you made that you were able to learn from, but it would be very helpful, for those who are listening to this to actually adhere to so that they don't make the same mistake?
In my line of work, two things. The second one, it took me some time to learn, but the first mistake is managing your finances.
Yes.
I came into so much money at so young, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it, man, and I mismanaged it, and it took me the third time to come into a lot of money to be like, okay, we're gonna do things right this time.
Yes.
But really managing your finances before you make the money. Learn how to. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm a natural born hustler. So I know how to live off of the bare minimum. Yeah. Like I go out to LA with $100 and be out there for 2 weeks. Like, all right, we're gonna make this work. But like at the time, I had gotten so much money that it was like, oh, okay, I can move a little different now and be cool. And after a while, I just kind of blew through it, and it was like, okay. But God gave me a couple more chances to make it right. So I would say managing your finances, learning how to do that before you make the money. So when you do make the money, you make the right decisions. And then two, one thing that I've learned, it took me some time to learn at the beginning. I was so excited about touring and stuff like that. And my wife was excited for me too because, she was there when I was trying to get into this industry. Yeah. So she was excited. So I'm on tour and I look up and it's like 4 or 5 months then going by and I get home. And it's like, I'm taking away too much time from my family. And like they would, my family, hey, when you coming home? Like, and my kids telling me they're missing me and stuff like that. Like it kind of started to settle in. Like I am putting this before them, and that's not how it should be. That's not how it should be. So, like learning to switch those roles. Like, hey, I don't mind going on tour. I don't mind doing dates right here, but again, kind of setting the standard and setting the bar and letting any artist or any show or anything know that like my family is more important than this. So when it's time for me to leave, I'm going to leave. I'll come back. Right. But when it's time for me to get out of here and attend to what my real ministry is, what my real priority is, then I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it took me some time to learn that, man, but when it clicked, that's when God started opening more doors. That's when God started, like I really learned to lean on him because it was a faith thing. Like I was leaning on that money. I was leaning on what another man had promised me. Oh, I'll make sure you get 5,000 a week, blah, 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 10,000 a week, blah, blah, blah. I'm leaning on that. And relationships. Because nobody likes to be told, hey, I'm about to leave and I'll come back when I come back. And like, it's like, I'm the boss. You telling the boss that. Nobody likes that. But when you hear from God, you just kind of got to move and trust that, like, all right, if he said it, then he obviously has something in store for me. And for me to step out on faith like that and these artists be like, you know, I respect that and I understand that, and you always have a place. When you come back, it just kind of assured, like, you got to switch the roles from leaning on this to really leaning on the source and not the resource.
That's a bar. Did you catch that? That is a bar right there. Put in the comments that was a bar. Yes. He said lean on the source, not the resource. I received that. I felt that in my spirit, Kyrie. Yes, sir. We better get this man an offering. Yeah, get this man. Now, you were just talking about leaning on faith. And another bar that was dropped by Kyrie was the fact that you actually said, because of our faith plus his grace.
Yes, sir.
We won't complain. We got no worries. Come on. You have to talk to us about how, about Black Soup Music and Red Hands, man. Kind of take us on the journey on how all of that evolved.
Yes, sir. So Black Soup Music started off, like, I used to do stuff on Instagram all the time. I used to take drummers' clips and then I would add music to it. And it just started getting really popular. And that's when my brand started growing, like, oh man, this is something that could be really cool. So I started building that up. And after a while, that's how I started working a lot. People would be like, oh, you're that guy from Instagram that does blah, blah, blah. And that's how people began to know me and artists started to reach out and stuff like that. So that's how Black Soup Music came about. It evolved into being like a record label for Red Hands, because I started Red Hands back in 2016 with my brother Albert Parker, Al Parker, Nate Lewis, and G Askew.
Shout out to Red Hands.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Red Hands. So we started that. And it became a label home because we weren't signed to anybody and we were funding it ourselves. So we were just like, let's put the money up ourselves. I don't know if you guys know about record labels, but they can get pretty vicious. So we wanted to stay independent and do it by ourselves. So Black Soup Music became the home for that. Like, hey, we're Red Hands and we're signed to Black Soup Music, our own label. And, we release music when we want to release music. We create content how we want to create content, because a lot of these labels, they won't allow you to do what you want to. They it's always,
so no creative control.
Nah, not a lot. There are some situations where we've proven that we can allow him to create because he does that. But a lot of times it's like, no, you're gonna do what I tell you to do, and we don't do that. And that's one thing about the Hands, like, we like to create how we create because it's worked so far. And, we've leaned and trusted in God and it's worked. So let's keep on doing that. And that's how the two worlds merged. And it's just been, again, a snowball effect, just kind of grinding out here, really grinding and figuring out.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, one thing that y'all figured out was how to just do a phenomenal family reunion right in the heart of Cleveland, downtown Cleveland, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kind of talk to us how that transpired.
Man, that was an amazing night. That was an amazing night. It was we started. Shout out to my brother Johnny Parker. He Rock and Roll Hall of Fame called us to do a concert.
Yeah.
And like one thing about us, we love kind of bringing things together and just for people in general. We have heart for people. So instead of like we told the Rock and Roll, instead of us doing a concert, instead of us just doing a concert, let's take the honorarium he was going to give us and let's build it into something special for the city. I can go and do a concert, pop-up concert anywhere in the city because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like we're always in the city, but we wanted to make it something really special. So the Rock and Roll let us do it. They told us they weren't giving us no money.
Right.
Like, all right, that's cool. But we invested in it. We put it up ourselves, and we said we're gonna do something special. And we didn't want to charge. We didn't want to make people pay for a family. Who paying for a family reunion?
Right.
So we just really want
sure. I'm not paying for a family reunion. I roll up like Tupac and Poetic Justice. I'm Cutting Pete. I'm Cutting Pete.
Just call me Cutting Pete. Cutting Pete. Cutting Pete. That's right. Cutting Pete. Look at y'all, come on here, man. I want y'all to meet some family.
But yeah, like, we really wanted to bring the city together. There's so much talent in the city.
Yeah.
There's so much worth in the city. And sometimes it can get scattered out and like it gets cliquish a little sometimes, but we felt that it was time to just kind of just bring it all back together. It was so many people down there.
Yes.
It was like around 2,500 people came down there. That was the biggest concert of the series that they had this year.
Nice.
And it was God.
Yes, it was.
It was God, man. It was God. He really brought that thing together. Like a lot of my friends, like Tye and Kim.
You see how he just, like my homie Tye Tribbett.
Yeah, right.
He didn't even say the full name. He just said, Tye. I call him Tye. I don't call him Tye Tribbett. Just Tye. Right. Too long. Like, what's up, Tye?
No, But no, like I called them and I told them the vision. Like, hey man, I'm trying to do this.
Yeah.
And I ain't got $1 million.
Right.
I can give you something. And they showed nothing but love.
That's a blessing.
They showed nothing but love, and because they love the city.
Yes.
They love the city. Cleveland has been good to them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even really just the relationship. It was the relationship with the city that they have and the relationship with our leader that they have. And you know what I'm saying? It was like all those things play in the factor. And even to see pastor down there.
Yeah. And when he say our leader and pastor down there, he's speaking of our pastor, Dr. R.A. Vernon, for those, who are not aware of that. Yes, sir.
But even to see him down there, like, I mean, we all know he's going to support, but it's always good to see your leader there, you know what I'm saying, and support, and like the love that he always shows and support is it's amazing. Like I said, it's God, man. It's a God thing.
Well, certainly, what you have been doing, I agree that it's just been a move of God. Like, what are some things that, like resources that you would recommend to someone that's the 18-year-old Khirye, right? It's an 18-year-old Khirye, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 25-year-old. Who knows? It may be someone who is working a traditional job, but deep down in their spirit, they know that they were called to actually, step out and do something more in music. Like, what are some resources that you would recommend for them?
Oh, man. I would say, I know this is wild, but social media is a huge resource. You can reach anybody at the touch of a button. They may not respond. They may not see it, but you have access to them.
Yeah.
And like, that's crazy. It's almost like us. You can look on my phone and see, I may have 10 text messages that I didn't read. They're on my phone and I'm going to see them eventually.
At some point.
Oh man, I missed that person.
At some point.
It's just like social media. Like, you have access to anybody in the world. You just got to start building your brand. Like, that's kind of the biggest thing. And I kind of touched on that. Like, really, really stepping out and leaning on God.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. I ain't even on front. It's hard sometimes to step out from what's familiar. Step out from like, man, I make this weekly. I know this is coming in. It's hard sometimes to just kind of step out on that water.
Yeah.
But you really got to step out, or like.
Ooh, I love that. You said step out on that water. You guys hear that? Step out on that water. We talking some water walking language.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I heard someone say something that I agree with, and she said, I feel closer to God when I'm walking on water. Right? So listen to Khirye. He said, step out on that water.
Step out on that water. That's real. Cause like at that point you really open up your heart to like, all right, God, I ain't got nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta do it now.
Yeah.
like I did what you asked me to do.
Yeah.
You're a man of your word.
Right.
You gotta do it now. You know what I'm saying? But you really gotta follow his voice and do what he tells you to do. And sometimes it's abnormal. Like, again, like I said, me telling these artists like, hey, I'm about to leave and I'm gonna come back. That could have been easily, no, you're not gonna come back.
Right.
There's a million Kyries out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not a true statement, but I understand what you mean. See, you see how humble he is? He said, you know, I agree with the principle of what you were trying to convey,
Yeah.
but there's only one Khirye Tyler. Let's make sure we.
Well, yeah, there's like a million musicians out here.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
say that. There's a million musicians out here, but that was me saying, all right, God, I'm going to lean on you, and I have to be satisfied with whatever happens after this. Because whatever happens after this is going to be greater than what I just came from.
Yeah, sir.
So I would say, like, step out on faith, build that brand that you've been thinking about, that idea, that vision that he gave you. Stop sitting on it. You can't sit on it no more, because you're burying it, and you'll bury it with what man has to offer you. Yeah. And that stuff don't last.
It doesn't.
It won't last, because again, there's a million other people that they don't mind hiring. Like that job don't mind hiring. That job don't mind finding another person because you got sick at work. Like, we gotta just lean on what God has for us. That's gonna last for you.
Yes, sir. I don't think we could put it no better than that, man. Now, you brought up the power of social media. Let the people know how they can follow Khirye.
Yes, sir. You can follow me everywhere on, I'm tripping. Facebook, Khirye Tyler, KHIRYETYLER. I know 2 first names, but it's just like that. And then on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else, it's at Khirye90. Yeah, follow me. Follow the band at Red Hands.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, check us out. Let's go.
Yes. Now, what if they want to get some of Red Hands music? Like, well, where could they find the music?
We are on every digital platform. Wherever you listen to music, you can search Red Hands and grab our single, grab all of our music. We're about to release an album soon.
Yes, sir.
So be on the lookout for the family album. It's on the way.
It's on the way. Listen, we're going to put all of that in the description, and you saw on the screen the social media handles. Make sure that you tap in and follow Khirye. And for those of you who are aspiring musicians, and maybe you're already a musician, but you may want to just tap in and get the behind the scenes and just learn more from Khirye. One thing that he didn't mention is the fact that he has a subscription that you can get connected to as well. So go ahead, follow him, follow Red Hands, get their music. I'm telling you, they already just been killing the game with it. You got all kind of people already vibing to the music. You may be on social media and you may see Michael Tye just vibing out to you know, no worries or whatnot. Listen, you should be vibing out to it as well. It's just one thing that I love about what you guys are doing with Red Hands, but I think it's like this perfect blend of soul, right? Yeah. Soul and like funk, but still with good news mixed into it. You know, like, yeah, it's like, it's inspirational, but it's not that traditional, you know, the gospel sound. It's like you can, it don't matter if it's at a traditional family reunion. Yeah. You know, Pookie and Ray Ray can vibe to it, you know, and somebody who grew up in church all their life can vibe to it. Go ahead, follow them. But more importantly, man, follow what God is calling you to do.
Yes, sir.
Man, I love Khirye's story. Take all of those principles that he gave you, but as he mentioned, don't bury your gifts. Dr. Miles Monroe once said, he said that if you want to find the place that's the wealthiest in the world, go to the cemetery, because that's the place where people have buried their gifts. Books have not been written because people died with books still inside of them. Musicians and singers and rappers and writers have died with music still inside of them. Don't let that be you. Make sure that you do what God is calling you to do. All right? But that has been another edition of the Purpose Experience.
Yes, sir.